heroes acting out there on a silver screen. Come grab a seat, popcorn is on me.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Hello, welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning II here, spending time with an old friend, Sean O'Connell. Really glad to have Sean on our show for just a few minutes. Sean is really busy because in a few weeks, we're going to be talking about a new book he's got on the legendary Bruce Willis. But today, Sean O'Connell from Real Blend is going to be talking to us about Furiosa, part of the Mad Max saga. And I got to tell you, Sean, when Fury Road came out, I remember my review and I called it Mad Maxine. And, little did I know that we were going to be seeing this just a few years later. And it happened all within, one or two sentences because I rewatched the film and I'm like, wow, it set it up. It set it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, George Miller has to basically rely on the audience to really gravitate toward Furiosa as a character. He has said in interviews that he has, very rich, thick backstories for every character that you see in this bizarro world of the Wastelands, right down to the guy who plays guitar, that shoots fire. So if we loved him as much as we did, maybe we'll get a movie based on him. But for this one, it's Furiosa, and it's a bit of a prequel story leading up to this. Obviously, she's not played by Charlize Theron this time out. She's played by Anya Taylor-Joy. And it's the events that kind of lead into Mad Max Fury Road. But yeah, I think Miller was he wanted to tell this story, but then he also saw the audience's reaction to Charlize and this character in general, and he knew that audiences wanted to spend more time with her.
And great casting as well. When I heard that we're going to get Anya Taylor-Joy as this, I'm like, man, that's a great choice. And you feel the same way.
I do, although I want people to know she doesn't show up for a long time in this movie. This movie, which is very different than Fury Road, covers a much longer period of time, probably about 16 years. And so if you watch the trailer for Furiosa, you'll see a younger actress who's playing her. And that actress gets a lot more screen time than I anticipated. She's also very, very good. And when she has to pass the baton to Anya, they kind of play off of each other. It's interesting to see the way that each of them approach a character that already has been well developed by Charlize Theron. So you should know that going in. It's going to be a lot of time with this character and not always played by Anya Taylor-Joy.
And it's also a different type of film than Fury Road, correct?
Oh, 100%. If that one is, wall-to-wall action with very little exposition or even narrative push, this one gets a lot more into the politics of the region, which is weird to say because I'm not quite sure that we've ever stopped to really think about the different leaders of the different camps. A lot of times we're thrown into a Mad Max story and it's these, strange looking warriors from different allegiances fighting over the resources of the land. With this one, in an almost Game of Thrones type way, we go into the strategy rooms of those different warring factions to see which one is going to take over Bullet Town, which one's going to take over the gas supply, which one's going to take over the water. And so it's a lot more into that sort of political intrigue. And that's what I found really interesting about this story.
Excellent. So give me three high points for you in this film that just really stand out.
Well, one is when the action does arrive, it's not nearly as intense as Fury Road, so that's sequence after sequence. But when you do get it, George Miller is better than almost anybody, at doing this type of vehicular action set pieces. And so you're going to see some magnificent stuff. Chris Hemsworth is doing something completely different than you've ever seen him do as this character Dementus. He's the one who kidnaps Furiosa at an early age. And then it's their kind of relationship back and forth that I found to be kind of intriguing. And like I said, he's just using a different muscle than we've normally seen him use. And the third thing I'm going to say is there are some really interesting connections to Fury Road that if you've watched that movie a ton, I think you'll be surprised to see a little bit how they line up and how maybe George Miller can take the story going forward. And I'll leave it at that for everybody to sort of discover on their own.
Was there anything that did not hit for you as far as the marks?
The length. With Fury Road, because it's just a propulsion, motor, you're never really checking your watch. I did find with Furiosa, because he's always trying to tell a lot of story over a long period of time, like I mentioned. There are a few times when he might lose his way a bit in the middle, and I think I felt the length of the film. It's a 2.5-hour movie. I'm not quite sure it needed to be quite that long.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell George Miller what to cut, but I didn't find it nearly as compelling as Fury Road, and so that was my big takeaway from it.
Okay, and if you're going to give this a report card rating, like from an A to an F, where would you land?
B+.
Okay, awesome. Sean O'Connell from Real Blend talking to us about Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. We're going to have Sean back in just a few short weeks, maybe sooner. Who knows when you're watching this, to talk about Bruce Willis' book that he has had a chance to work on. I'm really excited about that. Sean, thanks for joining us, buddy. And stick around right here on Meet Me in the Movies. Thomas Manning is going to come back and join me, and we're going to talk about the previous Mad Max films. Thomas binged all of them, like in a weekend, like recently. So it's all fresh in his mind. So stick around.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a flick?
Hi, I'm Steve Putnam, and I'd like to invite you to join me for the next Talk of the Town. Each week I get to meet with some of the most interesting people in Cleveland County, and each show is packed with information you need to know to stay connected to our community. From promoting upcoming events to discussing local subjects that impact you, Talk of the Town has a little something for everyone. Plus, we're on every day, so it's easy to catch up with us. That's Talk of the Town, every day, every week, right here on C19 TV, Cleveland County's channel.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you
Hello,
come
welcome
and
back to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning II here, hanging out with Thomas Manning, and as promised before the quick break, when we talked with Sean O'Connell from Real Blend and Cinema Blend, he gave you a review of Furiosa. He gave it a B+, so there you go, heading into this. So Thomas and I, we're going to be talking kind of about the Mad Max saga altogether, a franchise, Thomas, that launched back in 79. So we're talking, is this 45 years? 45 years and counting? Is my math correct there, man?
Oh, well, I haven't taken a math class since I was in ninth grade, so I'm probably not the best person to ask there. I'm an English major, but based on my limited experience with math, then yeah, I would say you're correct there. We'll call it 45 years.
Okay.
But
Several decades at least.
Exactly. Yeah, but I've spent the last week just watching all the Mad Max films. I started, building motorcycles and then eating lizards and everything. So I was really going full method here. Just learning as much about the Mad Max experience as possible. For some context, I had actually never seen the original trilogy of Mad Max films from the late 70s and 80s. I had seen Fury Road, which was the kind of revival back in 2015. But going back and looking at the originals with Mel Gibson, this was all totally new to me. And I knew where we ended up because I'd seen Fury Road, but I didn't know how it started. And really going back, you can see it was all there for George Miller from the start. All of his vision was there, all of his creativity and everything that he wanted to pull out of his mind was somewhere in there, but he needed the advancement of technology years later in order to fully realize it, as he did with Fury Road and as he's expanding upon with Furiosa. And so really unique opportunity that I had to watch it through those eyes and kind of see those early seeds of what this huge tapestry has resulted.
Yeah, and Mad Max, the original in 79, developed this cult following. It didn't have this wide scale mainstream appeal that Mad Max 2 Road Warrior did. Now, when Road Warrior launched, it changed the game for everything. And then you found people going back and looking at that original.
Yeah. And I think Road Warrior, watching this film, it's hard for me to fathom people watching this in 1982 and just comprehending what was happening, because some of the action set pieces in this are hold up, and don't even just hold up, but are better than some action set pieces we see in today's blockbuster, in some of today's best action films. Don't even compare to what we saw in like the last 20 minutes of Road Warrior. I think that's practically a perfect action climax. And I think that film is almost just, you know, extremely, it's almost mathematically precise in
Yes.
its structure, in story and narrative structure, and also its technical construction with the massive sequences of chases and vehicular warfare. And then, I mean, obviously, those are all things that are even compounded, 10 times later on in Fury Road, which we'll get to in a little bit later on. But yeah, Road Warrior was mass. It was really a huge step up in budget, in scale, and scope. Yeah, because you look at the first Mad Max, that takes place in a pretty recognizable society. There's still civilization, there's still homes, there's law enforcement, and then Road Warrior just takes it up a notch and shows you, okay, all of that's completely fallen. This is lawless. Now it's all about who has the oil.
Right.
Whoever has the oil has the power.
Yeah, absolutely. And that film, Mad Max 2, Road Warrior, was such a success from a financial standpoint that we knew that there was going to be another film down the road, and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome happened, and it really was all about spending the money to make that one happen.
Yeah, Thunderdome. This one was definitely, I think, the weakest of the trilogy, and I think that's generally agreed upon. And I think a
Yeah.
big part of that is this middle chapter of this film where Mel Gibson he basically goes to Neverland and finds this group of kids who he has to reluctantly mentor, and it's just not a very well told story. And a lot of the child actors are not necessarily up to par. But I will say the first third and the last third of Thunderdome have some awesome action. In the Thunderdome itself, there's some crazy hand-to-hand combat and some crazy wire work and some basically trapeze type stuff going on. You got Master Blaster. If anybody knows who the Master Blaster character is, he's just an absolute, just an incredible creation of a character, and he really makes it. And then Tina Turner, obviously, as well, who is she was like the biggest pop star in the world at this time, and she's really hamming it up in this film. Her costume design is phenomenal. Yeah, and then the last third of this movie, we go into more of the Mad Max, just crazy, across the desert chases that we associate with this. But it's just that middle third, the storyline with the kids, that is very
Yeah.
difficult to connect with, and a lot of it does remind me of some of the weakest aspects of the George Lucas Star Wars prequel trilogy, and how he couldn't quite figure out how to balance the tones
Yeah.
between an adult audience and a kid's audience. And I think that's kind of what we had an issue here with Beyond Thunderdome. But there are still some redeeming qualities, and it's still a very imaginative action film in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it is one of those that to watch the whole franchise. It's worth it because you really do, as you mentioned, you see what George is planning, what he's got in mind, what he's hoping for this world, and man, he does such an amazing job with that. And we thought honestly after 1985 that we would only see Mad Max in video games or graphic novels or even novelizations, spin-offs. But when Fury Road came out in 2015, it completely blew me away, Thomas. One of my all-time favorite films. You and I rewatched this recently, and still I'm just stunned on so many different levels. The action sequences, the cinematography, Charlize Theron, who created this character, and in one or two sentences within one scene, we were like, man, I'd love to see this backstory. And now we're getting that backstory. But Fury Road, just one of my all-time favorites for so many different reasons. And we've only got a minute and a half, but I want to make sure you get a chance to share your thoughts on Fury Road.
Yeah, so George Miller has gone on the record and said before that the imagery in this film and just the way he wanted to take what was on his mind onto the screen, it originated from a fever dream he had on a flight from, I believe it was LA to Australia, which is like, basically one of the longest flights you can take. So he had this fever dream and was like, okay, I know that I have to do this. And it was a project that started and stopped multiple times for a variety of political reasons and environmental reasons and budgetary constraints. And then it came to fruition in an action film that will stand the test of time. I think it's one that we've been talking about it for a decade. I think we'll be talking about it for another 50 years, 100 years.
Yes.
I do think it is practically the perfect action film. And one more note, Junkie XL, Tom Hulkenberg, who we've had on the show before, his score for this, one of my favorite scores of all time.
There's limited dialogue in this film when you look at it as a whole. And man, the amount of work he had to do to create this soundtrack, this musical backdrop that becomes a character. Junkie XL, Tom Hulkenberg, phenomenal. And so I'm really looking forward to what he's going to do in Furiosa as well. And if you haven't had a chance to see our interviews with Junkie XL, Hulkenberg, I really encourage you to do that. I first got a chance to talk to him back in 2015. So he talked about that first introduction to this film. And there's one scene in particular where you see this guy on this guitar at the beginning, at the front of this thing, just going crazy, shredding stuff. And that was the first scene he saw. It had already been shot, and he knew exactly what he was going to do. So, Mad Max Saga, spending some time talking about that. And if you missed the first part of the show, we had a review of that thanks to Sean O'Connell, and he gave that a B+ for the new film, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Thomas, you got about 12, 13 seconds for any final comments before we take a break and come back with Adam Long.
Allow me to just say that Bruce Spence as the gyrocopter captain in Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior was having an absolute ball, and I aspire to have that much fun in my life with as much fun as he had with that performance. So,
well, Thomas, thanks for joining us right here on this segment. Meet Me in the Movies as we talk Mad Max. We're going to come back after a quick intermission. Adam Long is going to give us home delivery, so some films you can check out at home through the physical world of cinema. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch it?
Education is our most powerful tool to improve and change our world. Hi, I'm Rhonda Benfield, your host for School Matters. Join me for a new program every other week with information from and about the students and staff of Cleveland County Schools. Discover what our schools are doing to challenge students and help them reach their full potential. You can catch us on Spectrum Cable Channel 19 or stream us live on c19.tv.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch it?
Hello and welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning the second here, hanging out with Adam Long. And when you see Adam, typically that means home delivery. We're going to talk about some home releases you can check out. And most of these, Adam, not all the time, but most of the time when we talk, these have been reissued, re-released sometimes for the first time in either Blu-ray or 4K. And sometimes the first ever in like any kind of physical format that's not VHS. So yes, we've seen a few of those as well. But Adam Long, great to see you, and good to have you, man.
Good to be back. I enjoy doing these and bantering it up with you about these, taking this trip down nostalgia lane, as it were.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, you and I have known each other a long time. And one of the things I remember from early on is you had this deep love for King Kong. and
Oh, yeah.
and I've continued to follow the Kong series as well, and I've got I've got this. So that's what I bought for you, Adam. I told you a few weeks ago I bought you kind of the Kong Chronicle, and
Yeah.
it's Life magazine visits King Kong, and it covers all the variations of King Kong. So that next time I see you, you'll be getting one of those autographed. I will sign it for you. So so you can say you've got an autographed copy. It doesn't have to say who it is. But Dino De Laurentiis did a 1976 version. I know that one's very special to you for a
It
few
is.
reasons. So let's dive into this. And why are we talking about this one today?
Well, it's the first time that it's ever been issued stateside. Now, this has been issued in the UK from Studio Canal on 4K Ultra HD. I think we can get a
Yep.
shot there without the glare. But this is the first time it's ever been issued in 4K in America. And Paramount has done the honors here. You can kind of see there, the back of that. This was released by Scream Factory on Blu-ray back in 2021, and they did a really good job. A good friend of mine, Ray Morton, did the commentary on that one, and they were also able to get Rick Baker to do the commentary on it. There's a lot of extra things. Ray also did he was the moderator for a 40th anniversary panel, and they had as many participating people as they could get, including Rick Baker. That's included on that disc as well. So anyway, if you have that edition, the reason I'm saying all this is you better keep it, because it's not, those extras are not on this one. So all you get on this is a bare bones, basically a 4K transfer upgrade of King Kong, and you get the TV version, which was on the Scream Factory version. The TV version is 3 hours and 14 minutes. It was they ran it over 2 nights on NBC television in September of 1978. And but it really looks good for a TV cut of a film. You never know what these things are going to look like. It really does. But it's only in Blu-ray. The actual theatrical version is in 4K. It's a good transfer. Audio is good. The bit rate's pretty high on this. If you don't have it in 4K and you're a fan of King Kong, as I am, it's pretty much a must, I would say. Non-negotiable. I have them all now. I have
Yes.
the Studio Canal, and I have this one. But it's amazing because King Kong was released in 1999 on DVD, and we went from 1999 all the way to 2021 with no upgrades, and we've had 3 upgrades in the last 3 years. So
Wow.
it's like you go for so long and nothing, and then suddenly you get,
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's getting some love. So
Yeah, De Laurentiis put this together, and you look at the cast in this thing: Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin in this, Jessica Lange as well. Music by John Barry, the legendary John Barry. And when this film was originally released back in December of '76, the reviews were kind of all over the place. Some people loved it, some didn't. But it's been one of those that I think's developed this an interesting cult following. During awards season, it did get a Special Achievement Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, and I think that was may have been before they were even giving Best Visual Effects in film. Also nominated for cinematography and sound. But yeah, I just remember just loving this film at the box office. Of course, I was a kid at the time, but just drawn to it. And you and I have talked about it. I'm always been kind of drawn to those early monster films, and this one stood out. And I'm glad that we're getting Kong back on the screen in the part of the Godzilla Kong realm. And so it's just nice to see this kind of continuing in some form or fashion. We had a long gap without seeing anything relating to Kong. So I think so. You feel really good with the 4K version of this. That was real solid for you.
Yeah, I thought it was a good transfer. The Studio Canal version had a little bit of a green teal to the transfer. I don't know what was going on there. That seems to have been corrected with this one.
Okay.
But on my home theater system, it looked good. And if you want to make the upgrade, I would say it's probably worth it if you're a true fan of the film. Like I said, audio solid, 5.1.
Excellent.
So good stuff. No extras, but
So go back to the previous version for the extras.
That's right.
Well, let's talk about Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase was a pretty well-known name, and really got a chance to do a lot of the things he wanted to do in the 80s, including an adaptation of a well-known book series based on the Fletch character. And you're going to talk about a couple of Fletch films here today.
Yes, I am. Kino Lorber Studio Classics have done the great honors of. They've licensed these from Universal, of course, and they have released the Fletch Lives and the original Fletch as well. New 2K transfers. These are not 4K transfers, but they're from the original interpositive, 35 millimeter interpositive on both of these. You get new commentaries. And there's some featurettes that were included on the previous releases from Universal Home Video, so they've ported those over. The second Fletch film got really poor reviews when it came out. I always thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, so sue me. What do I know?
It was as fun as the first. Really,
I liked it.
I did too. I enjoyed it too.
There's a lot of good one-liners. There
Yes.
are a lot of good one-liners in there. I remember the one that made me laugh out loud when I saw it in the theater in the spring of '89 was he said, I remember him saying, it didn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure that out. I think Larry Holmes could have figured that out. That's a dated reference. Larry Holmes was a boxer.
But it
works. Don't remember. You and I would remember that. But.
Yeah. Well, and I also loved, whenever he would get into different characters, he would use different character names. And the one that always stands out to me when he was talking about, I'm Elmer Fudd Gantry. Elmer Fudd Gantry. I thought that I really thought that Chevy Chase really captured that role, and he did it so well. And you said, of course, the sequel Fletch Lives as well. All right. Any other thoughts on the Fletch films? Good
transfers. I'm not going to say that they're reference quality, so to speak, but they do have a more cinematic look. There's just a little bit of film grain in there, and definitely an upgrade from the previous releases. And so if you're a fan of these films, I would say this is probably the best you're going to get. I don't see them coming to 4K. I don't think it's going to happen because we've just gotten a 2K scan of the 35 millimeter interpositive with these. So I don't think they're going to go any higher than that. So this is probably the final stop for physical media for the Fletch films there. So I would say if you're on the fence, go ahead and pick them up and a nice commentary and nice extras. So there you go.
Well, we appreciate you, Adam. Thanks for joining us, man, right here on Meet Me at the Movies for home delivery. You've got a whole list of other films, and people can check out Adam's Corner on YouTube if they want to see the whole list of home delivery options that are out there. And there are quite a few for May, and I know you're working into the June releases as well, or the April, May, and June releases. A lot of them going on. So check out Adam's Corner. And look for Adam Long there on YouTube for more details on that. We always appreciate you joining us each month. Adam, thank you, man. Thank you so much. And for those of you watching and spending time with us, whether you're doing that through WGWG Radio or through C19 TV, we do thank you as well. You can always email us at info@c19.tv. And until next time, for Meet Me in the Movies and for Adam Long and the entire cast and crew right here, I'm Noel T. Manning II, and that is a wrap.
Many films to view until we meet again. Next time we see you, we'll gladly fill you in. We'll tell about the happy and the sad ones. We'll talk about the good ones and the bad ones. Many films to view till we meet again.